5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sorry.
Well,
And
what did I
hello!
get?
Well, no. Well, now. The new countdown. Welcome to episode 81 of the Endless Backlog Podcast. I am your host, Gagan. Hope all is well where you are. Joining me today is just Benjamin Minkoff.
That's just me.
Yeah, so how's your day going, man?
It's going okay.
How was work?
Work. It was work.
Work sucks.
Yeah.
So, the plan today was to actually do a really early podcast at 3 p.m., but, because William was going to go see Zootopia. And I figured, if it's done early, I don't have to badger Ben to eat dinner really fast. Which is like half, and believe it or not all my decision-making process of that is I can get it done early. It's more like I won't have to badger another human being to eat dinner really fast, so I actually get to pick what you want to eat. Because I feel like on nights you actually have the podcast, you just settle for like something really shitty because you don't have the time.
Right. Which is not what we're doing today, of course.
Yeah, which is not what we're doing. Well, no, you had to settle for whatever you had to settle for.
Right.
So that's what ended up happening. And I got stuck at work, so I was like, all right, guess I'm just not going to go. I'll wait. Yeah. So, unfortunately, Chris also had plans later tonight, probably because he thought we were going to do it earlier. Because he probably went like, oh yeah, fuck it. Now I can make plans. But whatever. We're going to do this podcast. How was your weekend?
It was actually busy and pretty interesting.
What'd you do?
I went with my roommate and one of my friends to Washington for a Magic Team Grand Prix.
Okay. As in Magic the Gathering?
As Magic the Gathering, the card game.
Okay.
So it's not video games, but it's a card game.
It's a game.
It's a game. And the format, it was like a team format, which was really cool. So we could all help each other build our decks. And even, like, during the games, we're all sitting side by side, and I could be like, oh, what should I do? I can ask my friend next to me, oh, what should I do in this situation? He can, like, give me advice. Which was good, because I do play Magic every now and then, but I'm not playing it as much, and playing it in this big tournament environment was, like, kind of high pressure. It took me a little while to, like, get my nerves. But we did fairly well, considering it was, like, a tournament of, like, a huge amount of people. And we played 9 rounds of Magic on the first day, and we almost got to the second day, but it ended in a really shitty way. So, basically the cutoff to get to the second day of the tournament was you had to go 6-3 or better. And we were 5-3 going into the last round. And
so last round had to make it count.
And so we were matched up against this team, and I was playing against this 10-year-old kid who was there with 2 people who were really good.
Okay.
Who were experienced players, at least. Right. I don't know how good they were exactly. But, because I didn't play them. But I played this kid, and he had a really strong deck, actually. And it just blew me out in the first game. It's a best of 3 thing. And so, really fast, powerful deck. So, I was like, the only way my deck can win is by slowing the game down and just kind of grinding out a victory. You were
facing a high octane offense, and you had to run the ball and control the clock.
Control the clock. And so
punt, play field position.
And so I controlled the clock very, very well. And I ground the game down such that there's a 50-minute time limit for each round.
Right.
And so we got to game 2, and I was doing a little ahead. And the clock was running down, and it was like, at this point, the other games were done. It was just up to me. And so he was getting advice, and he was like, just concede this game. Our deck's fast. Let's try and win before time runs out.
Okay.
Game 3. And we go to game 3, and that doesn't happen. It goes turns. So what happens when time runs out is basically there are 5 more turns of the game. Like, he goes, then I go, then he goes. I go, then he goes, then I go, then he goes, then I go, and if the game hasn't ended, then it's a draw. And basically, he's unable to defeat me. And I get cards such that by that 5th turn, I'm in a much better position. I'm almost certainly going to win the game, but I can't keep playing. So we're stuck. And if we draw, neither of us go to Gate 2.
Okay.
So now it's just this and we can't decide it randomly. Mm-hmm. There are actually specific rules by the people who make Magic Wizards of the Coast.
Right.
That if you decide an outcome of the game randomly, suddenly it's gambling, and since there are cash prizes, you can't do it.
Mm.
So we can't flip a coin, we can't play rock, paper, scissors, we can't do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this shitty game of chicken, where it's I don't want to concede, and they're I don't want to concede, and we're just staring at each other and talking and sort of negotiating, but there's not much to really negotiate, right? One person has to go home, and one person gets to move on.
Right.
And ultimately, it was 11:30 at night, and the venue's shutting down. It's you have to decide. There's a judge there, and he's you have to decide. I'm going to call this a draw. And we're staying with a friend of ours who's over an hour away from the tournament center.
Mm-hmm.
The round starts next day at 9 o'clock in the morning,
mm-hmm.
and it's daylight. The clock's gonna move forward
mm-hmm.
that night, so there's even one less hour of sleep there. So I'm thinking it's if we win, we have to go back. We're gonna go to and get 4 or 5 hours of sleep after this completely exhausting day,
mm-hmm.
and then get up early and get back to do this whole tournament thing, and I'm gonna be totally miserable. And I just didn't have. I was okay, whatever. You can win. You can move on.
You capitulated! This is the worst story!
The kid's mom was there, too, and she was totally pressuring him to, win. So it was really shitty. There was nothing he could do, also.
Oh, man. The kid's mom was there?
Yeah, and she was, standing over my shoulder. She was maybe we could give it to the cutest person.
Whatever. Oh, man. How's it feel to basically draw with a kid? A 10-year-old?
I felt like his deck was a lot better than mine, so I didn't feel so bad about it.
Oh, so you're saying you out-strategized them when it counted?
Yep.
Hmm.
I the way the format we played. It's you get a random set of cards, and you have to build a deck in a limited amount of time and play it.
Oh, they give you cards?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you pay. There's a tournament fee, so
okay.
It's not free. There's a significant markup, but so I didn't think the cards we got they were pretty good, but they weren't amazing. So that we got that far, I felt pretty good about it. I felt satisfied, and I was with my friends. We had fun. It was a good time.
Isn't that in and of itself a form of gambling, since you're paying for random cards?
Oh, there's tons of random shit in Magic either way. I mean, you're drawing random cards, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of strategy to it, but you could just get... It's I don't draw anything that I can play.
Hmm. Yeah, because, I was thinking...
Now I lost. That's not my fault.
Poker is still considered... even if it's considered this competitive game,
mm-hmm.
It's still under gambling rules when you have, a poker thing going on. I would imagine, a TCG would still be... effectively that, because
I think
there's a layer of strategy to it, right? But
mm-hmm.
that random element isn't non-existent.
It's not non-existent, but there's enough skill involved that generally it falls on the other side of the line. And at the end of the tournament, it was thousands of people, and the final 2 teams were pro players.
Okay.
There's enough opportunity in the deck building and in the choices you make that people who know what they're doing are going to go farther than random people.
People have a general idea of strategy. That's fun. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed your weekend, even if it was a little exhausting. Yeah,
and I got back to New York at 2 in the morning or something, or 2:30.
Nice.
I got to wake up at 7 for work the next day. So
that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. On daylight savings, Like, I worked all weekend, but, like, I guess I couldn't fall asleep.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I made my mind up that I was going to clean up a lot of my room where my game stuff is and, like, just empty out some, like, old cabinets of stuff that I don't fucking need. I have strategy guides from the fucking GameCube days or something just laying around. So I started dumping that out. Well, okay, so I made the plan to do it some other day, but, like, I was going to sleep because I had work at the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And it's, like, 6 in the morning, and I'm still not asleep yet, and I'm just like, alright, fuck it, I might as well start cleaning. So I started cleaning, and first it was just initial, like, little tidy up. I put my, like, the garbage stuff out of the way, and then I thought, you know, my dresser's pretty messy, I should probably clean up my dresser a little bit, too. It's, like, messed up, so I cleaned up my dresser, did all that stuff. Sat back down and I was like, you know, the wires on my consoles and the TV are really bothering me. So I just started.
You just kept going.
So now the way my TV's set up, none of the controllers are actually connected to the console. They're all wrapped up and put in like a
nicely organized,
nicely organized drawer. So like there's just big gap where wires used to be that like I was like, I guess I can vacuum over it too. And I put certain console boxes away because I keep the boxes around and stuff.
Right.
I threw out old season DVDs that I don't even remember having for whatever reason. Like Heroes, that show had one good season, but the second season is shit. So I was like, nope, you gotta
that
go.
DVD.
Yeah. I found a Game Informer with Gears of War Judgment on it. I was like, wow, this has been here a while.
Wow.
I didn't know, so like I went through a lot of my old stuff.
I know you still got Game Informer.
I have a GameStop card thingy.
Ah, I guess.
I mean, I don't shop as much now that I buy everything on PC, so it's weird.
But yeah, I mean, like, I've had that situation, I guess, when, like, you wake up early and it's just like, I can't get back to sleep, I need to do something.
Yeah.
I have all these things I've been putting off, and now they're gonna happen.
Yeah.
And, like, it kind of sucks that it has to get to that point, but when you do it, like, there's a weight off your back, you know?
Yeah. Then, like, the whole room was clean. I was like, well, I have nothing else to do. And I looked at,
the clock?
No. I looked at the clock. It was like 10 p.m. I'm like, oh, I still need sleep. I gotta be ready for work at, like, 4. Which was fine, because, like, Sunday shifts I have to pick up recently. But, like, I make sure I get the latest shift possible, so it's, like, the most pointless shift ever for me. Like, I only go to a Sunday shift at the restaurant as a formality that I have to do. But the payoff is I don't have to work during football season, so it's like, alright, whatever. I could suck it up until then.
So you do the Sundays before football starts.
It's like a 2-3 hour shift thing. It's not a real shift. I walk in, my tables are already set, so I gotta wait a while to even get tables, right? I kill some time, I run some food, maybe, like, move, like, whatever, like, we have back of the house side work. And then I get a few tables, and then, oh, look, you're cut because we close at 9 on Sundays and not like 10 or 11. I'm like, yep, alright, I can go home now. So, that stuff's good. Let's get into gaming talk, though.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were a restaurant podcast.
I didn't know we were a
what did you eat
podcast.
over? Yeah, what did you eat over the weekend, though?
What I eat? Mostly burgers. I had burgers for dinner too, like on Saturday.
How are Washington's burgers?
One place I went to was pretty good. It was like more of a restaurant called Tap House. On the way back, we were trying to get back to the train, and we stopped at like a Fuddruckers.
Fuddruckers which is good.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's an okay burger.
Yeah.
So I mean that was mostly what I ate. I mean we had to prepare the day one of the tournament. Like I got this trail mix and stuff, and I had this huge thing of Powerade. You know, it's like you really got to stay fed and hydrated because like if you start getting like hungry or
it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah, it's like gonna be a long day. Like and you can't focus if you're not properly fueled up. You know. So.
Yeah, sure. All right. So I just had pork chops, something too serious.
Nice.
Cross-platform play is a thing Microsoft announced, and that sounds like, oh, well, we knew about that. And the thing is, Microsoft announced that not only is there some cross-platform between Xbox Live and Windows, but Microsoft's actually perfectly fine even if it went with PlayStation Network or even the Nintendo Network, right?
Yeah.
And
for all the games where that happens.
Yeah. And that sounds kind of cool. And my initial reaction to this was, there's probably going to be one game at most that actually allows this to happen.
Well, I mean, like, Rocket League was the one they, like, announced right away.
Right. But that's the one that made the most sense. Which is great for Rocket League, right?
It's great for Rocket League, yeah.
You know?
And, I mean, we were seeing more, like, cross-platform PlayStation PC stuff, like, in the recent months with Street Fighter and with Rocket League, of course. And so, like, maybe this will become more of a trend. But it also kind of fits with what we were talking about a bit last week, with Microsoft kind of opening up, with, like, what they've been saying about opening up their gaming platform and just kind of being more general.
Right.
Less locked into, like, a specific build of a specific console. And, like, it's a good move, I think. You know? I mean, Microsoft's stubbornness about that stuff was always kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those, like, Xbox Live policies they had, like, their, you know, exclusivity or you can't be on the platform stuff that, like, seemed kind of just stubborn for the sake of being stubborn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I mean, do you think we're gonna see, like, you think Sony's also gonna be cool about it, or?
I mean, they've been cool about it with Rocket League and stuff, right? So.
But that's Windows, though. I don't know if they've done it with, well, I mean, yeah, they've already.
You think they wouldn't do it for a game that was only on consoles, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, would they do PlayStation to Xbox?
I mean...
And here's the other thing.
Yeah?
Here's my other question. Is there going to be some sort of unified network friends list? Like, are games going to have friends lists within the game as well now?
I think that will depend on the game a bit. I mean, like, Street Fighter has an infrastructure for it, right? They've got that Capcom ID.
Yeah.
I don't expect to see something larger than, like, on a game-per-game basis.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, like, the trade-off for the manufacturer is, like, sometimes having the multiplayer locked to one platform makes people, like, go with wherever their friends are.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, like, being like, oh, I've got to buy this platform so I can play with my friends.
Right.
And if it's opened up, if you can play cross-platform and everything, then you just go with whatever works best for you.
I was going to say, like, this type of, like, imagine, and I'm sorry I couldn't think of a good game to make this example with, but Destiny would probably benefit a lot from having, like, its entire... Because, like, the whole game's thing is that it's a pseudo-MMO, so, like, you know, when you have everyone on, like, one unified thing...
You got more people to play with.
It would add more to the pool, it would add, you know... But, like, again, you'd want to matchmake and do all this other stuff, and, you know, coordination in that game does matter, at least for raids, from my understanding, so, like, you know, you'd want to be able to talk to them, so how would that even work, right? Like,
I don't think it's that difficult.
You think so?
That stuff. I mean, I know I've argued with my friend why it would be difficult at one point, but I think, like, actually, you know, it's just, like, net. I mean, it's just data sent over the internet. It can be accepted the same way on either end, as long as, like, nothing's getting in the way. I mean, there might be some different issues with performance differences, but that's not a huge hurdle, and, like, certainly never a problem for PC gaming, right?
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, it's more if they want to, and I'm glad they seem to be open to it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit of an admission of weakness that, like, people might be going to the PlayStation platform to play with their friends this generation, where they weren't last generation, so Microsoft feels like they've got that by opening up, they'll help keep people who are in their ecosystem. It did
feel like, for the longest time, when you thought online gameplay, it was a bit synonymous with Xbox for whatever reason, right?
Well, I mean, some people argued, you know, Xbox cost money, but it was like a more premium experience in a way, right?
It being more unified. It was
more unified. You had, like, the good party chat.
Yeah. Like, it was just more robust from a feature set standpoint, but, like, then, you know, which is why, like, even though, like, the PlayStation 2 played games online as well, and, like, it had SOCOM, it had, like, a bunch of quality online games. This is just a matter of, you know, you didn't look at it the same way, and then when the 360 and PS3 launched, 360's Xbox Live was way ahead of PSN from the get-go.
But Sony's caught up.
Yeah. Sony not caught up. I think is underselling. I would say in a lot of ways they might be ahead. Like they might not have some of the features, and yeah, there's always that weird joke that PSN tends to go down more than Xbox Live. I don't know if that's more myth than it is like a reality, but like let's say that's true. Mm-hmm. The PlayStation Plus stuff on balance has been just stronger because they flat out keep getting more independent games, right? Like they've created a really healthy ecosystem for the PlayStation Network, whereas Xbox Live always, like when I go online, the few times I turn on the Xbox One, I look at the store and like, I mean, if there's a game for the Xbox One I want to buy. And I just see like a string of like AAA games and then like a good indie game here or there that, whatever, I probably have on PC. But like, it feels barren to me in comparison to PlayStation Network. Like, PlayStation Network, I still get the I'd rather play this on PC vibe. But at the same time, I feel like I'm at least scrolling through more options, right?
Yeah.
And that's added a lot to the experience. And then, like, mazel tov to freaking Sony's PR team, you know? Mm-hmm. Call of Duty is a PlayStation game, effectively, to a lot of people now.
Destiny. They got exclusives on a lot of big things.
Yeah. I mean, whenever Destiny 2 is going to come out, it's going to be like a big marketing push for Sony. I mean, I'm sure when the E3 starts off, we're going to see, what's his name, Adam Boyce tell us how delicious the Destiny new items are or whatever. Mm-hmm. Fucking tool. Anyway. I'm hoping that something cool comes out of it, but, you know, I'm expecting nothing, to be quite honest. Obsidian Entertainment
and Paradox
have announced a new IP called Tyranny. It is a CRPG, isometric camera view. It's going to be using pre-rendered backgrounds, much like Pillars of Eternity. The tagline is, "What if evil won? You are the judge and executioner of Kairos law, acting under the watchful eye of the Overlord's Archon of Justice. Tunan, the adjudicator.
Yeah.
Your words shape the life of thousands. Will you use the power to bring justice and inspire loyalty, or will you bring fear and cruelty to the beaten people of the Tears?" It's a teaser. We can't really get too in-depth with it.
There's a trailer, but it's not much gameplay.
Yeah. The few positives and negatives I'll share are the following. Pillars of Eternity was a good game. For the most part, it was well received. It was one of the successful Kickstarter stories, if you will. If there's a criticism I would hold against Pillars of Eternity, that absolutely needs to be, like, you know, hammered home. Mm-hmm. And every given opportunity when we have to talk about this game, it's that game was very much, when it said it was inspired by the great Baldur's Gate, it's like, no, you basically just tried to make that exact same game. And it was just less inspired, right? And to me, it felt like it lacked a bit of soul in that sense.
In that sense, yeah.
It felt like, very much like the new Super Mario Brothers games to me come off as like assembly line video games. They play well because Nintendo does not know how to fuck up platformers, but, you know, like, you don't look at that game the same way you look at Super Mario World. And there's probably things new Super Mario Brothers does objectively better. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, shit like that. But it being a new IP is a bonus. It's not tied to some tabletop RPG. That's good. There's no Chris Avalon now, so this will be, like, our first proper...
I don't know if they've made announcements about the staff.
Yeah, but Chris Avalon's not at Obsidian anymore. You know what I mean?
I guess.
So, like, this would be the first proper Obsidian game without him writing the script. I mean, unless he did a lot of the pre-work, but, you know. You know, we're about to see what Obsidian's going to be like without that guy. So that's good. There are other Paradox games announced. There's Hearts of Iron 4. There's a new grand strategy game called Stellaris. Unfortunately, I don't know shit about shit when it comes to those games in that genre. And Wazi's not here, so I'm going to move on. But Obsidian's making a new IP, and it's not Kickstarter. Fuck yeah.
And it's got a cool ad set I mean, like, the setting hook, I guess, is... Yeah, it's not that explored that much. And it depending on how they handle it, and Obsidian's usually pretty good with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting take on fantasy.
Are you going to end up playing Pillars of Eternity or anything?
Probably not.
probably not.
I don't play a lot of RPGs.
Yeah, well, true, but I figured you make the exception for Obsidian stuff, considering you even played Alpha Protocol.
Well, Alpha Protocol is a fantastic game.
I mean, it's easily if that's not their worst game, it's like Demon Seas 3, so great.
Well, it's also like a stealth game, kind of. You get that third-person perspective, and even if it's handled badly, I don't know, it makes it more approachable for me. I'm shallow.
Heard. This is why we can't have nice things, Ben. Pokken released. Well, not released, but it sent out review codes. And for the most part, it's doing okay. The highest review I've seen for that game is that it's got a 9 on GameSpot. But it's averaging a 76 on Metacritic, which nowadays is green. Which is good.
It's good they've been changing that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Good. The one, like, the constant knock seems to be revolving around maybe content. Doesn't seem to be there, which I don't really know what you want from a fighting game in terms of content these days, because I always look at the single-player and fighting games as, like, who fucking cares? It's never really been that good.
I don't know, like, there are fighting games that have good single-player.
Hold on. What would you, like, other than Melee, and just, I would say Melee.
Smash Brothers is a good example.
Melee. But, like, Melee, like, the single-player stuff that's good is, like, the basic arcade mode, which every fighting game has. Event mode was the shit. And then there was, like, those weird little mini-games. Like, I actually really like the target stuff in Melee, surprisingly.
I like the Melee. But, I mean, like, they took that stuff even further in, Brawl and Smash for Wii U.
Yeah, but Subspace Emissary sucked.
I like the ambition there.
But it sucked, so let's not give it credit for, like, trying.
And there's still a classic mode there, so, like, you can play that.
But it sucked. I don't know.
I mean, people talked about the Mortal Kombat modes and stuff, which I haven't tried before. I hear those are good.
It's basically an arcade mode, except they pick the fighters for you, and there's cutscenes that are played.
I really like the Weapon Master mode in Soul Calibur 2.
Yes. Okay, that was pretty good.
That was great. And I haven't played this, but I've also heard great things about the quest mode stuff in Virtua Fighter 4 and Virtua Fighter 5.
Yes. Yeah.
True. Like, there are good things you could do with a fighting game single player campaign if you are invested in it. Seems like, at least recently.
Are you a little bit surprised that so far it sounds like the fighting engine isn't devoid of depth? Like, it is a more accessible fighting engine, so like I'm taking reviewer opinions on that it's deep with a fucking mountain of salt. But, it seems like, I mean, even Chris Carter from Destructoid, whose opinion, at least on beat-em-up games, I think are fairly respectable, right?
Yeah.
Even he said, like, no, the combat engine is there. There's just, like, content stuff he has a disagreement with, but,
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, it's called Pokken for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's
Pokken.
Tekken.
It's Tekken people, so they'll know how to make something that's at least okay, alright. The perspective reminds me a lot of, like, the Naruto games.
Right.
Which aren't fantastic fighting games, but, there's something there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this seems like it's maybe a grade higher than the Naruto stuff, at least. How do you feel about this following knock, alright? So, everyone keeps bringing up how there's, like, 600 or 700 Pokemon, and there's only 16 fighters picked, and some of them aren't the popular Pokemon. I think that's a really shitty criticism.
It's not going to have, like, 700 Pokemon. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but I also think that people... So they'll paraphrase it like, well, obviously you're not going to have 700, but did we really need to... Okay, so I agree that 2 versions of Pikachu is stupid. However, just because a certain popular Pokemon didn't make it, that shouldn't even be a criticism to me. Like, it shouldn't be, well, Greninja isn't here, but this shitty thing I don't like. It's like, well, if Greninja would have played, like, a certain other character that's already in the game, and this other Pokemon that's not as popular, if you will, is actually somewhat unique, right? It seems like someone should be able to think that, and just respond to, like, I understand this decision-making, it isn't necessarily, like, the most financially prudent move, because, like, if you're gonna make the most financially Pokemon fighting game, you're gonna go Pikachu, Blaziken, Greninja, you're gonna throw Charizard in there, because he's popular as fuck, Mewtwo, right? Like, you're gonna get all the greatest hits, and Scizor and Scyther will be there. They'll basically play the same, right?
Right.
But, I was reading that criticism, and I just thought it sucked. Like, just thought it was flat out garbage, because that's not a criticism.
I mean, it's a matter of people's expectations, and I guess that's always something you could think about. But
right, but I think your expectations should be somewhat, like, you're allowed. I'm not saying it affected the score. I'm not saying, like, I'm sure people mention it, because I write stuff in my review that really doesn't have like this grand effect on my opinion of the game, but I'm going to share my displeasure anyway, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I still find this criticism really stupid, just because it's like, what does it matter which Pokemon? As long as they're good, right?
Yeah, as long as
that should be the real thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because otherwise, like the pigeonholing of, well, it should have had the popular ones, like that would have translated into a worse game probably. You know, like how different are Blaziken and Greninja going to fight in the grand scheme of things? How
can you have Mewtwo fight on an even tier with all the other Pokemon?
Yeah.
That's not accurate to the fiction.
Yeah.
Which is very important.
Yeah. So, you know, that stuff was really...
I'm glad it seems like it's an okay game.
Yeah, so good for Nintendo, I guess. That Wii U keeps getting like a gem or a hidden good game every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Still a bad console.
Yep. Yeah, kind of. It's got some good things. Speaking of major franchises getting their own fighting games.
Shoot.
The team that making Rising Thunder, which is currently a PC fighting game that was in alpha.
Yeah.
Was bought out by Riot Games, makers of League of Legends and pretty much nothing else.
Yep.
Couldn't happen to better people. Seth Killian, big guy on Rising Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Seth Killian.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see that they're going to do well.
Yeah, ex-community manager at Capcom and
Yep.
The final boss of Dive Kick.
Final boss of Dive Kick.
Uh-huh.
Great Evo commentator. Great fan.
Great Evo commentator, yes, absolutely.
Great advocate of fighting games.
Yeah. Aren't you a little worried, though, that, like, instead of getting what Rising Thunder was, which at least looked like some new thing, that they're just going to make League of Legends a fighting game?
Well, I had two things, I guess. I mean, I played some of Rising Thunder, and I thought it was a cool idea. You know, kind of the hook behind Rising Thunder, or at least what made it feel very different from other fighting games, is it's a fighting game without, like, weird, like inputs for special moves. It's just like you press a button, you do a special move.
Yeah.
They're kind of regulated by cooldowns.
Yeah.
And so that I didn't get to play enough of it to get like particularly good at it.
Yeah.
But you know, it makes it more purely about
the mind games
and the mind games, and you know, like having a good strategy and reading your opponent.
Yeah.
And I think the changes they made actually worked in the context of what they were going for.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very similar.
They balance the moves well enough.
Yeah, like it's very similar to what that game Rivals of Aether is going for, which is like they're taking wave dashing and all that stuff from Melee. They're making the accessible version of what people see in Melee in a pro scene, right?
Yeah.
Like, because not everyone seems to grasp wave dashing all that well and the other stuff. Right, edge guarding, blah, 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 blah. But the idea behind these games is, like, what if we took the execution out of the equation and made it more about application, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's not to say there's no execution involved. Like, there are pretty extensive combos if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but, like, it's a
simplified... It's going to take a bunch of inputs, but it's simpler.
Simplified,
It's simpler, yeah. It's more approachable.
Yeah,
but it doesn't take out the skills that you need.
Sure.
And I think... There's no point in buying this particular developer if you're not going to try and... It would seem weird to buy them and not make use of what they do.
Yeah.
So I'd expect them to make a fighting game.
Do you think it's going to be free to play?
And I think if you look at... it'll probably be free to play. I mean, League of Legends is free to play. It's pretty successful. It's being played by probably it's being played by 5 million people as we speak.
Yeah.
Or more. I haven't keeping track. But like what League of Legends sort of did, like the whole design philosophy behind it was taking what was in the Dota Warcraft mod, and trying to strip out the things that made it make less sense, or made it harder to approach, or made it unfun for new players.
Right.
And make something more make something that was easier to get into.
Right.
And Rising Thunder, if you think about it, is like a similar kind of philosophy for fighting games.
Right.
From a different tack than like I guess Super Smash Bros. Is, but like it's the same kind of thinking. So I would expect it to like keep building on those lessons they learned in that alpha. And you know, like League's got a lot of different characters and old lore and stuff, and so it could be fun. I don't know. I mean, Riot has only been making League of Legends basically, so it'd be interesting to see something different come out of there.
Yeah, so you know,
and it's good that you know those people are Seth Kelly. Yeah, I think also the Cannon brothers who run Evo were on that team. You know, like they're good people who've been big advocates of fighting games, and it's good to see them purchased by a studio with a lot of money who's going to give them a good opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, that's positive. So I don't mind that we're going to get fighting games that are application over execution, right? But do you think there's something lost in the sense that, like, not being able to do something, like, being able to do some of the bread and butter combos in Street Fighter 4 on command is what separates some of the really good players from mediocre players, but being able to do the one frame lengths, like, nobody does it, like the best players don't necessarily rely on them because, as we point out, like, it's actually difficult to rely on that, but, like, that creates the tense moments of, like, actually delivering that game. And the way I would put it, it's the equivalent of, this quarterback has the arm strength and the accuracy to throw it on a dime, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to execute that throw every single time. Like, what's going to happen in a game when maybe the throw's a little off, right? Like, that's the beautiful thing about sports.
Right.
But I look at that as,
in the pressure moments in Street Fighter, or like things like that, someone drops a combo and then there's like this uncertainty that's created.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like, I guess, I definitely know from my experience, and I was playing a game that's turn-based, so I have no excuse. Yeah. But, when you're in a tournament situation and there's more pressure, you can start forgetting the things you knew, Yeah. And,
tight.
Being able to handle that mental aspect of the game. A lot of that, some of that comes out in how you play, but it also comes out in the execution.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, with these other games, wouldn't, like, losing that execution barrier, being able to do some of that stuff almost on command because it's become so automated, doesn't that take away from it a little bit?
I mean, I think you can still make mistakes even with simpler execution, but, it might change things a little bit there. There's always going to be a trade-off.
Yeah.
Even you can't. You strip out some complexity. Even whether it's neat or not, you're going to lose something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And like first-person shooters went down a similar path, I guess, if you think about it.
And they overdid it.
Yeah, you could say they overdid it, but there's a line. There's a balance you have to strike.
Mm-hmm.
So
RPGs did it on some level, and and if you're like an older RPG fan, you would argue, they overdid it. Like they took away what was special about the genre to make it more approachable because we have to pretend that old games are impenetrable, and it's like, no, fuck you. Anyway, PlayStation VR. Oh, I'm sorry, were you going to add input?
It's like matter of finding the right balance, and that's gonna take some testing and correction. So, that's why you have alpha testing.
PlayStation VR is priced.
Yes,
at $399.
$399, placing it $200 cheaper than the Oculus Rift, which is $200 cheaper than the Vive.
The Vive is $800.
The Vive is $799.
Okay, so the Vive is $799. The whatchamacallit?
The Rift is $599.
Yeah, shit.
And the PlayStation VR is $399.
So the price of a PlayStation 4 console.
Yes.
So
basically,
VR is going to be expensive. I think we already knew that.
VR is going to be expensive.
Battlefront has been announced for PlayStation VR. That's really all that we really have to say. I mean, do you really have other opinions than I? My opinion on VR is I hope it's good. I'm excited to maybe pony up for one of them, but we've played enough video games and we've been around this block enough to know that the Wii actually had a lot of cool possibilities, and no one fucking capitalized on it, other than Nintendo on some basic shit, and a few gems here and there. Mm-hmm. The Wii used, like, tablet stuff, and the DS fucking interface, right? Like, that probably had more room for cool design ideas, and what we got were, like, really simplified concepts. And then in the case of Kinect, it came down to, let's try to shoehorn Kinect into this game built around a gamepad, instead of making a game built around the pros and cons of the Kinect. Right. And
the Kinect is kind of the best parallel for this, or even going further back, something like a Sega CD, because, like, this is priced like another platform.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing left out that I'm seeing mentioned here is the PlayStation VR requires the camera, but doesn't come with it.
Nice. That's bullshit.
So I think that's like $50, so it's not a huge amount, but it's something.
It's $450. Makes it more than the console.
Makes it more than the console. And, it's really another platform that requires the platform itself to run. So it's a subset of the set of PlayStation 4 owners that can play it. And that always, makes it tougher to support because, you're limited by what's there.
Yep.
And if I'm a consumer and I just want to... I mean, it's still like, even if I'm a consumer and I just want to play things in VR, because the Rift and the Vive are going to require such beefy computer hardware, it's still the cheaper entry-level option.
Yep.
Even with the camera, even with the platform required with it.
Yeah.
But
my question
I think it's gonna be slow. It's gonna take some time. I don't know if this is gonna be like. I don't know. It's like I'd be surprised if it's like some kind of runaway success.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a Wii again. I don't see that
because it's just too expensive.
Yeah. The unsung hero of the Wii was $250.
Right. And like even the Kinect was like 150 on top of the Xbox.
Well, and like the real thing that eventually got the Kinect going was that newer models of the Xbox launched with the Kinect.
Right.
Yeah. The Kinect ultimately did the Xbox One in because they couldn't like not sell it at $500. Mm-hmm. But it
wasn't actually a killer app, but that cheap point of entry is going to be what makes it a mass market thing, and I think now it's still early days, it's still early adopters. It's not necessarily going to be that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interest.
Yeah. I think people are sleeping on VR and like not ignoring that us gamers are blah, 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 fickle and whatever that shit. That's true. But at the same time, we keep forgetting that our section of gaming, which is that, like the hardcore, nerdy, we go on forums and we actually follow gaming news, we make podcasts or whatever the fuck, right? Mm-hmm. Like, in our case, we're not as big as that, like, larger, broader mainstream audience that probably believes in the dream of VR. Like, VR's always been some pie in the sky type thing. It's always been the fucking hoverboard, the sneakers that lace themselves up,
Well, it was kind of like... It's had some like weird cultural moments, even when it wasn't as capable as it is now.
Yeah.
There's like stuff in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
With weird, crappy headsets.
Yeah, but like now we're getting to a point where like the technology is actually there to do it in interesting ways.
Yeah, and I mean I've been hearing some of the impressions we kind of see seem to be like there's a real difference when you actually experience it.
Yeah.
It can't really be communicated just by watching it on video. And so that message is going to be tough to get through. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It could have staying power. It's hard to say, but I think if it does succeed, if it does start like getting penetration, I think it's more likely going to be through a cheaper platform like the VR, even if it's not as high fidelity, as long as it can really have that sense of place that all these headsets promise that make them so exceptional with their low latency and good head tracking and that make you feel like you're there. Price is really going to matter because it has to be in living rooms for people to like show their friends.
Right.
The way, because otherwise, who's going to spend all this money?
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Yeah. Sony's saying they got 250 developers making content.
I believe that. I think everyone's sort of on board on this. I think VR, the difference with VR than maybe, say, Kinect or the Wii is, I feel like, we had to listen to Nintendo and Microsoft tell us what developers were working on it, whereas with VR, we were hearing about that stuff like before we even had price tags on these things. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there are people saying, like, no, like, they're genuinely excited to work on this. Right? Because, like I said, like, the VR is the pie in the sky for gaming.
Yeah. And, there's, so he's also saying, 50 games by the end of the year for VR, which, is a pretty good look. Yeah. And, I think, it's important. As you said, the VR movement was a lot more bottom-up than a lot of other things. Like the Oculus started as, like, a Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
Before it was bought out for tons of money.
Yep.
But, it started on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. So, like, there are people who want to create this, and there are people who want to create the hardware. There are people who wanted to create the software before there was necessarily, like, a huge corporation looking for the next thing to distinguish their platform.
Yeah.
So that could be encouraging for the future of it. That there's people who want to make the content.
Yep.
So, I think it's exciting. It's a lot of money for me to spend on it.
Yep. But
I hope it does well. I'm sure as this goes forward, the price is going to come down probably faster than we expect.
Yep.
Just because it's such a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, in 3 years, 5 years from now, like, if there's
a different
it
thing.
Could be if there's going to be a big move, I think that's when, like, the momentum's going to have to build.
It looks like the shot in the arm that the game industry kind of needs these days, just because.
Yeah, at the very least, it seems like it's a completely different paradigm.
Yeah, like, I don't understand why anyone's rooting against this shit. Like, I get it, the price tag is a bit much.
A lot of people are scared of change, and it's true as in games as it is everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, scumbags. Anyway,
people were scared with cell phone stuff. Just not much longer ago. VR is
and look at how look at how inconvenient the iPhone is, right? Like, you have Google Maps on your phone, so nowadays when you ask for directions, you literally ask for their address and put it in your phone. Like, people don't understand. Kids are never gonna understand what it's like to drive in New York City. Stop. Ask someone for directions, and the motherfucker gives you, like, the most absurd, like, go down 4 blocks, make a right at the red light, you're gonna make a U-turn, and then you're gonna make a right down this alleyway. And it's like, what?
New York's easy. Come on. All the streets are numbered.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that is a thing that was, like, that is a thing that happened when I was a kid. When, we were driving around in, like, Queens or something. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's like, yeah, whatever. Just put it in the map and I'll get there. And the last thing is, I Am Setsuna is the name of that Tokyo RPG Factory, which was the developer. If you remember, at last year's E3, Square literally opened a new studio of ex-JRPG talent, I guess, or whatever, to create a new franchise for them, effectively. And the name of that game, I believe, in the West is going to be Setsuno. I don't know the fucking tagline, because I'm sure it's Square. There's probably some stupid tagline. And it's heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger and the like. And, it's going to be coming out on PlayStation 4 and Windows. So, really can't say too much about that, other than the fact that, A, it's a new IP, that's cool. Right? Mm-hmm. Square doing relatively new things would be cool. The fact that it looks like every other JRPG that has ever existed, however, is off-putting a little bit. But, They
can only take so many risks at once, I guess.
They can only take so many risks at once, I guess. That's true. And then this announcement had to be shared, even though this game is low scale and it could probably suck. But there's a game called Shadow Tactics, Ben. Let me tell you something about Shadow Tactics, right? It is published by Daedalic Entertainment. You might know them as the people who publish Depania. It's point-and-click adventure stuff. Now, what Shadow Tactics did was announce a teaser, right? So, like, they made the CGI cutscene that took... Oh, wait a minute. Actually, they teased gameplay.
Wait, what?
They teased gameplay. They said they're sharing their announcement teaser, and in the announcement teaser, the 1 minute footage of the game, you watched a game being played, right? And you were watching, you got to see a general idea of what the mechanics might be. It seems like it's a strategy game using stealth mechanics. Very similar to, like, the older Commando games. More recently, like, what some of the stuff Invisible Inc. was doing, although probably not the same. And it's looks like feudal Japan. Would that be right? Even if it's ninjas, feudal Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in 1615, right. Shogun
Rising.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, feudal Japan, turn-based strategy game using stealth, and more importantly, when they said the words teaser, they teased gameplay. The reason I said this had to be part of the podcast is because rant time, well, maybe not a rant, but let's be real. Fucking stop announcing video games with a teaser, a CGI, a trailer. Fuck launch trailers, goddamn live action nonsense. No, none of that. Please stop.
Show me your vertical slice.
Show me yes! Show me a vertical slice of your game. At least that's the game, right? At least that's the game.
Yeah, Obsidian.
Yeah.
Announcing a new IP with some kind of fucking movie.
Yeah!
It has about 5 seconds of gameplay. That was
5 seconds of gameplay!
That was like 20 different scenes just like mashed together really quickly.
Yep. And it's just, like whatever. I understand if things are in production, but do what movies, this is why the other thing, movies do this crazy thing where they've already had movies announced way the fuck in advance and you just know something's being made and we just move the fuck on and then the trailer comes out for like the actual movie, right? To give us a general idea of what the movie's gonna feel like, right?
Right.
Which makes sense for movies. So games, they do this annoying thing where they're like, we're not going to announce that yet because we're not sure if we're even making that. Like, trying to be coy and shit. It's like, just fucking admit it. That it's in production or something. Yeah?
Yeah.
What?
The problem with games for that stuff, and this is just an expectation that I hope would change, but it hasn't really. And it's like when games are announced, like, people expect when a game is announced that it's going to come out.
Right.
And it's going to come out in the way that it was originally conceived always.
Yeah.
Which is not the expectation. In the movie industry, like, people can announce they're making movies and then they can, like, sit on the shelves for fucking 20 years getting shopped around to directors and screenwriters and actors or whatever. And, like, that's just how it is. Whereas with games, if you do that, you have, like, The Last of Us or, Final Fantasy 15 or Duke Nukem Forever and everyone's just, like, losing their mind constantly.
You mean The Last Guardian?
Last Guardian. Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Or like their expectations to get a lot of life with.
Let me put that. So first of all, the fact that is a first world problem, if anything, that people are going to be like, "Oh my god, I'm tired of waiting," or because let's be real, Final Fantasy 15 will do fine in sales. Duke Nukem Forever did way better in sales than it deserved.
Yeah.
And Ico and Shadow. Wait, is it Ico or Eco? It's Eco. Eco and Shadow of the Colossus weren't exactly like monster hits. Mm-hmm. So, like, in general, the fact that Sony spent so much money and so much dev time on that game is questionable business. But,
it's what they do with those games.
It is what it is, as far as I'm concerned.
I guess the difference there is, they announced those games with a trailer.
Yeah.
Or like, for example, more recently, like, Nintendo announced that Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem game for the Wii U. It's like, here's a name for a game, basically.
Yeah, that was
And then when it came out to be whatever it was, there are certain hardcore fans that are like, why isn't this a top-down tactical turn-based strategy game with the demons for Shin Megami Tensei?
Yeah.
And it's like, because that's not what they were making, and they never really said what they were making, so, whatever was promised is just in your head.
Yep. Or you do the Alan Wake thing where you start off as this big open world forest horror thing, and then when it comes out, it's like this vapid third-person shooter.
And then that's a little disappointing, but some of it's like, we were lied to when actually it's, games change in development.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gaming, making anything like that, it's iterative. You try things out and maybe you think something is going to work and it actually doesn't when you try it and you have to change course or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, not I mean, you can't necessarily expect everyone to understand like what goes into making everything they consume because it's hard. We only have so much time to really care.
Yeah, we only have so much time to care.
It's which is like true for anything.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think game companies are kind of scared to go against that stuff, and a lot of indie games like try and be more open about that, and they almost get punished for it sometimes.
Yeah,
when they like show like their development process or they show costs, and it's not what people think it should be.
Early access,
or early access, or I'm thinking of like, Broken Age when that got delayed.
Yeah.
Or like the Skullgirls character thing when they were showing their costs for that, and people were like, there were some people who were upset because it was more expensive than they thought it should be.
Yeah.
When they were actually making it on a shoestring budget.
Yeah, I mean, that's gamers are irritating, and I kind of like. Did we talk about?
I don't want to harp for this.
Wait, so no. But I was gonna say, did we talk about the No Man's Sky $60 thing?
Not really. I think you said
that is so bullshit. Like, let me go over this. Like, No Man's Sky is whatever. Like, I don't care if it like succeeds or whatever. Like, it has no effect on my happiness. Or whatever. Like, I hope the people make money and continue to have a good job and blah blah blah. And hope it's a good game. Whatever.
Yeah.
However, like I've also been the guy going. The fact that he doesn't look people in the eye makes me think he's full of shit when he's on stage. However, I agree with Jim Sterling on this. When the fuck did it come to the point where we look at indie games and say, God, you can't be $60 because all you've ever done is act like that scene. Like, not saying there aren't some bad eggs, but that scene's given us creative entries, games that actually have like wealth of content, games that actually like respect their customer, both like in terms of their money and mentally. Like, right? Like, I don't think indie games are like they're definitely less condescending than AAA games.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But, like, the AAA developers who do day one DLC, pre-order DLC, season passes, microtransactions in $60 games, release AAA early access games, release episodic games now out of nowhere, and there's probably another fucking thing I'm forgetting that AAA games do, but like you get the gist of it.
I get it. Yeah.
Those assholes. Oh, but I forgot the easiest one. They launch with less content than we used to get.
Yeah.
Those assholes should be allowed to charge us $60 though.
I mean, there's a simplistic calculus to it, which is just sort of like they put more money into it, so they should be able to charge more for it. But
that didn't
that breaks down if you look at it closely.
Yeah, it's like, well, did that argument fly when a similar AAA developer made a relatively short game, but, was actually somewhat passionate and creative, but, you said, nope, it's not $80 like this really shitty Bethesda game that doesn't play well.
Yeah, or if, like, you look at movies, everything is the same amount, whether it's something they spent, $500,000 on or $500 million on.
Yeah.
And it's not like something's better for the amount of money they put into it. Just
that's just how much they expected.
Bigger or has more explosions or whatever.
Yeah. And in the case of games, though, like in the case of first of all, indie is not a genre, and that's more important. But like the independent gaming scene, that smaller scene, right, has had a larger diversity of pricing. Like we have The Witness and the Talos Principle that absolutely should be $40. Absolutely should be $40.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think.
Yeah, then you got Divinity and Pillars of Eternity, which I believe are $59.99. You have Legend of Grimrock 2, which was a $40 game. Legend of Grimrock 1 was a $20 game. Ori launched as a $20 game. There's $10 indie games. Downwell is like less than $5.
Yeah, it's like $3.99 or something?
Yeah. So,
or $5?
Yeah, and this isn't like, oh my god, those are like some just... They vary in quality in the sense that, like, yeah, you might think one game is a little bit better than the other. But it's not a matter of, like, one game had more production value. It's more so that, well, this game's mechanics or there's a tightness here or what have you, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that stuff should matter to people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And that's whatever. Like, I like bad-mouthing gamers enough on this podcast that this is just another chance to bad-mouth assholes who, Like, listen, I understand that it's your money and you should do whatever you want to fucking do. And you have that right. I understand that. And I think that it is up to you. But I think too many people bitch about pricing, right? Instead of just being like, all right, I'm not going to pay $60 for it. I'm just going to get it on a sale. Like, to me, that conversation shouldn't even be like this thing we talk about, right? Like, when we talk about games in terms of like, you know, like you'll say, like, yeah, I'll get it when it's on sale. Or I'll get it later down the line. Because you're just not as enthused to spend day one money on it, right? Like, we never have to... I don't think we've ever argued whether or not a game is worth its price of admission. Just because that stuff varies from person to person, right? Right? Yeah, so, whatever. We can move on from this, because
let's move on from news.
Because, funny, this pricing stuff gets us to another thing I want to talk about with Superhot.
Talk about games that are too expensive.
I don't think it's too expensive. But, we'll get to that. Superhot, you beat it in 100 minutes. Did you like the game?
I did like the game.
Okay.
I liked Superhot.
Okay.
And I went back to it a bunch, and I, like, did other things also.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I started Superhot last time we podcasted, but I only played it for about a half hour.
Right.
So now I beat the game, and I played some endless mode, and I played through some of the challenges, and I got all the secret things by following a guide, because some of those are hidden in crazy places. And yeah, it's a good game.
Right.
I stand by a lot of the stuff I said about the action.
What?
Which, I mean, I think it's really cool. Action-wise, you know, it feels very different mechanically from a lot of other games. And when it plays out, it's almost like you're like Neo in the Matrix, or you're an agent.
Yeah. Where
like everything slows down and you can avoid things that shouldn't be avoidable, and you can just do these impossible moves, and suddenly you're acting in like the supernaturally graceful way.
Yeah.
To kill everything. Which is, yeah, it's a very empowering feeling once you figure it out. Like a lot of games have like one-hit kills. I think often, like, when you do them right, it just feels really graceful. And Superhot nails that stuff. Like throwing a weapon at a guy and make him pop his weapon out, and then grabbing it, shooting him with it. Like
mid-air, yes.
Never gets old.
Never gets old.
And yeah, being able to like dodge a full burst of a rifle guy as he's like running at you, and just like avoiding every single bullet and then like taking them down. It's pretty awesome.
That game needed duck mechanics.
I wouldn't complain, but I might make it too easy.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. The thing I'm more conflicted about with Superhot is like the story stuff.
Okay, you find it heavy-handed?
Yeah, it's really on the nose.
So it being on the nose actually didn't bother me.
Like I mean, like sometimes it's really on the nose, but it's effectively unsettling.
You know what? Hold on. We're never doing a spoiler cast for this, so I'm gonna do timestamps for this. Read the fucking timestamps for when we stop having a spoiler. So I think it's kind of cool that it's a fucking marketing thing. That's the way I look at it.
That stuff's kind of hilarious.
That stuff is super.
When I got to that part after the credits, that was funny.
Yeah, I was like, it actively did make me, because I was gonna already do the thing. I was like, oh guys, you need to play Superhot, but it told me what to say, so I was like, yeah, I'll fucking say that. Guys, it's the most innovative first-person shooter I've played in years.
Right.
I like that stuff. I agree that when it like stops you and like treats you like a fucking dog, telling you that Superhot's the man and you're its bitch, right? Okay, that's a little overkill, right? But I don't look at so like here's why it doesn't bother me, right?
Okay.
I don't look at the story like it's trying to say something or it's trying to be meta the way. I mean, it is being meta, but like not meta the way Spec Ops or Hotline is. Like if Spec Ops was overly like on the nose, it would be terrible. Just because that game's a little bit more preachy, so like it needs a level of subtlety to it, right?
And Superhot's not really Hotline Miami.
Superhot's story to me is more of a commercial of getting word of mouth across. That's the way and maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but that's how I took it. And I thought it was fucking cool.
I mean, like, I think that aspect kind of at the end is sort of cool. And then, like, there's some stuff with, like, when you get all the secrets, it unlocks something. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah, shoot.
Spoiler cast?
Yeah. De facto Superhot spoiler cast.
Yeah. So, when you find all the secrets, which are hidden in all these computers, hidden pretty much every level, like, in weird-ass places, the actual, things you do on the computers aren't particularly interesting. But when you get all of them, it opens up, like, a kind of hidden view of the chat program, which is in the game.
Right.
There's, like, this, like, IRC chat, basically.
Right.
And it turns out the chat is being manipulated by Superhot to push people towards Superhot.
Right.
And to keep them from knowing the true nature of Superhot.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, the system makes comments and then, like, the moderator and stuff acts on them.
Yeah.
And, like, I like that stuff was, like, a sort of interesting science fiction idea. Like, this program sort of perpetuating itself secretly in the form of a game.
Yeah.
But, like, the kind of, like, the ideas of, you know, control and the separation between, like, your body and your mind, and machine overriding you. Like, I don't know, like, that stuff I felt like all those elements, I just seem kind of cheesy to me.
Sure. But I think the cheese adds to the fucking ending, though. I do agree that early on I thought it was going for, like, this weird ghetto science fiction horror vibe or something, right?
I mean, it kind of is sometimes.
It is. It is very, like, the music kicks in and it's just, like, very, like...
Yeah.
Like, it takes over everything you're trying to say. Like, the character you play as is effectively trying to get his word across, but he can't really talk to his friend. Although people don't talk to each other and get that fucking angry over fucking text like that. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
People do some weird things over text. I don't know.
I mean, but the text they shared, come on.
In that context, not really.
No, yeah, like that, come on. So that was weird, I guess. I don't know. I just the ending makes up for it, is the way I look at it. Like the way the ending is, it's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm all for this weird little commercial in the video game. Like, I'm totally down. Like, I'm not down for other games doing advertisement in games. I'm cool with Superhot advertising itself after I beat the game.
The reason I feel kind of shitty about it, though, is because I bought Superhot because someone basically did that.
I know! It's so great! That's what's so awesome!
And, like, I like the game and I like the mechanics of it, but I would rather not have spent more than $20 on it.
I mean... So this is what I wanted to get into, right? Mm-hmm. Where I have my displeasure... Because I did call it a little disappointing. Where I have my displeasures is... I don't think it should be longer... Hear me out. Because the story is only 2 hours long, or 100 minutes as you like to put it. And when you make it longer, it would be filler, right?
It should be. I think there should be more... The campaign shouldn't be longer.
There should be more mechanics to the game, though. In the sense that there should be a duck move and, like crouch or whatever, like, just so you could, like... Just because, like, that seems to make sense to me. And... there would have been more interesting puzzles made from that. Because it feels like for 2 hours... I would say at the halfway mark of Superhot, there's no new scenario they're going to throw at you. No, not maybe scenario is the wrong word. Puzzle type, if you will. I don't know. You'll figure it out. You're better than that stuff that I am. But, like, it would have added to the systems, and maybe having other weapon types in the sandbox of that game also would have added to it, right? Mm-hmm. Endless mode needed more maps, even if they were going to be maps that weren't in the main campaign, right? Like, that should have been there, just because that mode now needs to carry the game, right?
Right.
The thing I want to get into is that, and Platinum Games still has them in their games, Bulletstorm had it, the Arkham games are actually really good about this, but I feel like a lost art has been, like, these really well thought out challenge modes in games, right? Yeah. I mean, like, you and I have both played a shitload of Bayonetta, but, like, I would argue... Like, the campaign's awesome, but, like, it's those witch trials and the Alphium portals and, what was they called in Bayonetta 1?
Well, I think they were the Alfheim portals in Bayonetta 1, and they're like the Muspelheim portals in Bayonetta 2.
Right, no, but there was something else. No, what was the challenge thingy in Bayonetta? The Bloody Palace thing.
Lost Chapter, I think.
Lost Chapters, right. Like the Lost Chapters in Bayonetta, and then, like Vanquish, like the real, like where you really
the missions, Vanquish, the missions in Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, like those things add to... They show you the true depth of these systems, right? That it's like, that's when you truly grasp the game. And Transformers Devastation sold itself on that. Like, yeah, the beating the main campaign is going to take 3-4 hours. But doing Phil would argue Revengeance, it's not like... Mastering Revengeance isn't necessarily mastering the campaign. It's can you do all these mission modes. And you had your disagreements with some of them. But, like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
That is a lost art in games. And I'm glad that Superhot is sort of has it in a way
trying.
that other games, it's trying, right? And like, it has it, and it's fucking awesome. Like, having katana only runs, it's like, okay, how would certain levels play out when you only have the katana to work with? How do you move around a level? How are you going to, like, you're gonna cut up bullets, but like, now you also have to take into account that you gotta worry about multiple dudes, and you can't just throw it willy-nilly through dudes, right? Because if you do that, you're just setting yourself up for failure.
You're very yeah, you can't even attack. And yeah, when I playing through that first challenge with the katana only, like, taught me a lot about other ways of playing that game that I didn't otherwise pick up when I played the campaign.
I didn't bunny hop at all on my proper playthrough of that game, the first playthrough, but it's on the challenge modes I've actually learned to use the jump a little bit more as like a viable thing.
It puts because you can move in slow-mo with it.
Yes.
Which is the only thing that lets you do that.
Yes. And it's like, that's like always one of those like weird hidden layer mechanics, like just deeper, like now you need to think about it a different way, right? Because initially you would just look at it as a jump, but like now that you know that it's the one thing you can do while being in slow-mo, you're like, alright, hold on. How does that change the experience, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's awesome about Superhot. And I want that stuff back in games, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why in the fuck did the skulls thing only work for Halo? Like, I almost feel like, why didn't another game actually do it good? Because I think the skulls ultimately get to a point where they just make Halo insufferable, right? Because they make it too fucking spongy and you're too limited on items.
But at least you're doing it to yourself.
Yeah. But like, imagine like a first-person shooter had like different modes built around it. Like Bulletstorm tried to, like, I didn't like the campaign, but I thought Echoes mode, like I remember, like we bring this up, but like when the demo of that thing came up, me, this kid Buzz, and Alex Jason on the games platforms, like we just went back and forth, one-upping each other on the leaderboard, much like the Bayonetta days before you and El Joseph cheated. And that was a lot. It cheated, and that was a lot of fun. You cheated anyway, and like that stuff's cool to go back to do in Superhot. It's what I miss about Time Splitters. Like, remember when there were like missions inside missions in freaking Time Splitters? Like, I don't know.
It's too bad Superhot doesn't have leaderboards for like the endless mode stuff,
which is a fucking lame thing. Which is a fucking lame thing that it doesn't have it.
I would play so much more endless mode if I could compare my scores against you.
I feel like I would play that game even more, yes. Like, then I would be, like, inspired to, like, no, there's no fucking Kilgore glitch this time, Ben.
Yeah,
Bayonetta 2 not having...
with my raw skill.
Yeah, Bayonetta 2, fuck you. Bayonetta 2 not having that is actually really disappointing.
Right.
Because part of my fun with Bayonetta,
Nintendo.
Part of my fun with Bayonetta was shit talking with you and Aljosa and Anno Mother, who you can check out at Point Insertion on YouTube. Anyway, who else got Bayonetta that would play it with Brandon? He was Patchmaster on the forum. Like that stuff was a lot of fun, And I miss that type of stuff. Like Geometry Wars is that,
right?
Like you went to Japan and I shat all over your pacifism score.
You're an asshole.
Yes.
I couldn't even fight back.
No, fucking Sherrod destroyed. I think it's Sherrod. No, it might be Muxi who destroyed me eventually. Yeah. But like I miss that type of, and that's what I like about Super, and that's why I defend it's right to $20. More than $20? Okay, maybe it was
$20. I'd be okay with. 25 is pushing it.
We're gonna be those assholes over $5.
I'm gonna be that asshole. Yeah,
you're gonna go full Jewish on me right now. We're gonna go L'chaim. L'chaim. I said that wrong. Whatever. Fuck you. Anyway,
life. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with life?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that I think. What's wrong with
saving $5, Gagan?
Whatever, man. Anyway, I don't know. I like that Superhot's built around. To me, the challenge modes are a viable defense for that game.
Yeah, I like that idea of it.
But I do agree that it would benefit from more. Like it needed more endless maps, and it not having the fact that it's a PC game and they can't mod in user generated trials, right?
That'd
seems
cool.
like a no fucking brainer. And it should have been there. And from my understanding, it's not going to be there because of a code issue.
Huh.
So that's a little disappointing. I don't know. I read it on Gaff, so consider that hearsay. But I don't know. I like Superhot, though. I fucking love Superhot.
I like Superhot.
That is the best 7 out of 10 game of all time.
It's a pretty cool game.
And
it feels different, which is you don't come across that often.
Yeah. Did you find that the Superhot thing got old after a while?
For me, it got old a little bit.
You are history's greatest monster, because it never gets old. This is an incorrect opinion. Anyway, so I played.
You just play Superhot?
I played, no. I played a bunch of stuff, actually. I've been playing the most hardcore video game of all time. The single most complicated video game in existence. That's right. Bejeweled 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just randomly fucking...
I was going to say Peggle, but...
It's a PopCap game. There. It is a PopCap game, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, I randomly just fucking installed Bejeweled 3 and just started going through that for like a bit and messing around, because I always liked the Bejeweled games. That's a match 3 game, right?
Yep.
Like, that's the new fucking term for those things, right?
Bejeweled was like the first real... Well, not the first, but like...
The king. It's the king of the match 3. Why would I play other match 3 games when Bejeweled 3 exists? Mm. Anyway, so that's been fun. But now let's get to the real nitty gritty. I'm not going to go too in depth with this, just because I've said plenty of positives about this game almost. We'll find ways for this game to be brought up again. One of the games of the month was Super Metroid. I rebeat that game.
Nice. How long did it take you?
About 3 hours. I was actually, more fooling around. I've never been the speedrunner at that game. I didn't go for the 100% run either, but I was taking my sweet time, taking in the music and all that stuff. And that game is still a motherfucking masterpiece. It's still everything I say about Super Metroid is 100% true. I will say that people who think sequence breaking is a glitch are assholes and should stop having opinions. There is a glitch in the sense that Mockball is a glitch. However,
there's a glitch in the sense that the Kilgore exploit is a glitch.
That absolutely is a glitch. Anyway.
It's not a glitch.
That's a glitch anyway.
If it's within the rules of the game, like sequence breaking, it's permitted.
How dare you? They actually teach you wall jumping and stuff, and they knew about power bombing and there's so many secrets in that game, you can only get through power bombing. Those aren't glitches, those are actual skills. The players figured out an interest, and anyway, we're not getting into this.
I'm glad you know how to wall jump, Gagan.
Not on command, but I'm gonna be honest, man, I miss having that style of mechanic in a video game. Like, I miss having... Well, we have wall jumps, but, wall jumps become... I realize how fucking automated it's become. I basically mash a button when I wall jump. You know what I mean?
Pretty easy in most games. Yeah.
There's no precision required, whereas Super Metroid's like, no, bitch, time this shit right. Like, you have a very specific frame when you're allowed to do the wall jump, right? She has to do the somersault in the air. If she just does a straight jump, it's not going to happen, right? And don't get me wrong, do I want to play Super Meat Boy with Super Metroid's wall jump? Fuck no. That would be terrible. Do I wish games had a mechanic, right, where the base game is going to be played very specifically and you're just going to unlock items and blah, blah, blah. But there's a higher level mechanic that you can learn that can actually make each subsequent playthrough different from the previous playthroughs, right? That's the value of Super Metroid's wall jump and learning how to do the bomb jumps in that game.
Yeah.
And it's made, like, I can bypass entire areas. I can do certain areas out of order. I don't need to get the spider ball, for instance. I don't really need the grappling hook in the grand scheme of things. And that's awesome, and it feels natural. It adds to the setting. It makes the game feel open. It makes the game feel open on the freaking Super Nintendo, on a 2D game.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? So, we need more mechanics like that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying all games should have it. That's stupid, obviously. Then it would lose its, like, you know, then it would lose its value. But, like, I don't like the fact that the only examples I can think of with that type of mechanic are, like, games like Bayonetta, right? Where, like, dodge offset, and you don't necessarily need to learn it to beat the game. But if you want to, like, really get good at that game, you need to learn dodge offset. You need to learn how to do the parry, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to separate the higher level play of that game versus lower level play. And fighting games, the same thing. Do you need one frame links to win matches? Not really. If you get good at them, are you going to win a lot of matches because you're going to be playing the game at a higher level? Probably, right? Like, it's just another tool in your, like, arsenal.
Right.
Right? So, like, I want stuff like that. Otherwise, every other thing I've ever said about Super Metroid is 100% true, because that game is absolutely in the conversation of one of the greatest video games ever made. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a motherfucking masterpiece, Ben.
Yeah.
And then I made a NeoGAF thread, and that was fun. I've also been playing Pokemon Yellow.
Okay, good game.
The walking speed in that game is the fucking worst.
Gotta get that bike.
That game is the original cinematic walking.
But all the time.
But all the time, exactly. I didn't... So, when you think of Nintendo, you think, like, of these really polished, not too many glitches in their game type experiences, right? Like, cause, you know, it's Nintendo. Pokemon is uncharacteristically the most glitchy fucking thing they've ever fucking released, right? Because Pokemon Yellow had glitches I didn't even fucking know. There's a Gengar glitch that you can get before Brock.
Nice.
So what you do, like, you don't fight this one guy in the Viridian Forest. You get an escape rope. You go to Brock's gym. You have to do something very specific. Okay, so what you do is, you go to the part in the Viridian Forest where you're going to be about a tile away from him, the trainer that you're not supposed to fight, noticing you. And as soon as you make that left turn to move one more space in the grid, you use the escape rope. So you see the exclamation over his head, but you're already going to escape, so it doesn't matter, right? Then you go fight the first trainer before Brock, but you can't walk directly in front of him, right? Or else it'll break the game, because the game literally crashes if you do that.
It'll crash if you fuck it up.
Like, what the fuck? And then you go up, you make a right, you bring up, so he walks to you now. You let him kick your ass, so you restart at the Pokemon Center, you walk down, and you instantly fight a level 1 Gengar.
Level 1 Gengar?
Level 1 Gengar, whose only attack is Lick. So you catch him, and then here's the best part. So apparently how the algorithm works in Pokemon is that if you're level 1, you're already negative 54 in experience points, right? So, if you fight anything that has that's going to give Gengar 54 experience points, like, say, I don't know, Brock's Onix, which can't do any damage to Gengar, and Gengar's Lick attack will eventually just kill him. Mm-hmm. So, you get that? He goes from 1 to level 100 in a matter of seconds. So now I have a level 100 Gengar that won't listen to me. but I have already made up my mind. I'm like, alright, I'm gonna get through the game. I'm gonna give him Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. So that'll get rid of the water bitch in the very beginning. Ice Beam will kill the dragons. I'll probably give him, I don't know if he can do Surf, but I could probably give him Bubble Beam, and it'll take care of, the second member of the Elite Four, and I'll basically just coast at the end, you know what I mean? So, that's just...
Ghost types in that game are nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I still have to worry about Sabrina, because she's a difficulty spike, but it's really fun, because I was like, none of Nintendo's other games have stuff like this sometimes.
Well, I mean, Red Blue has that classic item duplication glitch.
Yeah! I'm saying that Red, Blue, and Yellow are like the most glitchy fucking things Nintendo's ever made!
Well, I mean, like, that's because fucking Pokemon Company was involved, I guess. Or Game Freak.
I know! They're sullying the great name of Nintendo. but it's awesome. It's so dumb. There's a Mew glitch, right, too? But that requires you having to deal with an Abra.
It takes some effort, as I recall.
Yeah, and I'm just like, nah. Level 100 Gengar is enough for me. This is too detailed. But I don't know. That stuff's cool to go back to. And then I played The Division with Wazzy, which we have video footage up of me playing that game with Wazzy so far. I went with the name Long Division.
I like it.
Because Endless Division just sounded really dumb to me. Didn't roll off the tongue.
But Long Division seems like it's good for a series.
Yeah, of course. I think it works on multiple levels. First is the pun, obviously. Second is the part where it's a long playthrough. So, I'm not going to make short 15-minute videos. I'm literally going to play. If it's going to take an hour video, have fun. We're making an hour video. Mm-hmm. And the other way it works is that, the math nature of the pun implies how I think The Division is a math game. So, and I like to, and I want to be very specific about this. This isn't passive aggressive. This is all aggressive in sharing my displeasure for loot games. So, I mean, whatever. I think it's fine as a game so far. I'm not as enamored with it as Wazdy is. All my reasons for buying that game were very simple, in that it makes good podcast talk, it's a big game, Wazzy's gonna play it, Wazzy's interested in it, one of us should fucking play Wazzy games once in a while. Take one for the team, and I figure, hey, the person who's not paying anybody to work for the website might as well fucking play a game, right? So I felt like it was the fairest thing to do. And for the most part, I've had fun playing with Wazzy and playing the game. The fact that it's a third-person cover shooter, right, inherently lends itself to, more, simple co-op play, right?
Flanking and getting people out of cover.
Yeah. I argue, when you do co-op in Halo, nothing about the mechanics lends itself to working with another player. Whereas, Gears of War naturally lent itself to that. And that's why, Halo added all this stuff to, what was that mode called? Firefight, right?
Right.
But it was never the same as a good Horde session in Gears of War. Right? Mm-hmm. Because Gears of War's mechanics lend themselves so well to that. And
just holding a position.
Yeah. So the co-op stuff is fun. They do... I'm not willing to say the game's repetitive or varied or anything like that, just because I only have 3.5 hours in. But I did see a few twists, at least a few wrinkles thrown into the mission design that at least adds to the experience, right? If it doesn't make it varied. For instance, instead of just... Destiny, it's not even hyperbole to say that a lot of the missions, if not the vast majority, are you're going to go somewhere, Dinklebot's going to have to go do Dinklebot things, and the room you are in is now going to have just waves of enemies coming at you. That is how every single one of those missions end, unless it's a boss fight, and those are shitty for a variety of different reasons, right? And The Division does have waves of dudes, but for instance, one scenario, we went to go talk to a dude who's going over stuff, and you don't think it's the end of the mission, and it's surprise attack, the enemy's actually invading the base. So now you have to actually get engaged again, and after it just sort of turned you off, right? You're defending certain points, you have to turn valves on or whatever. Little things like that are adding to the missions, and from my understanding, they do throw in some really interesting missions in the main quest. It's the side ops that are
just repetitive,
which... Welcome to modern video game design, that side content is always trash unless it's the fucking Witcher. And yes, I'm going to be that. Or New Vegas, or just whatever. Games where the developers actually put some TLC into the fucking side content. Right?
Yeah.
And that is okay for the most part. There's more of a structure here in terms of unlocking stuff, right? Mm-hmm. There's a base building thing going on where you're going to build a wing, a medical wing, a security wing, and I forgot what the third one is. And what happens is as you keep fleshing that part of the building out, it unlocks some new tiers of perks that your character will have, or new abilities your character can use, right? So it feels like there's more to add to your character, whereas Destiny, I argue that the skill tree is more of a line, it's not a tree. It's a branch. It's a skill branch.
Skill branch.
And,
just go straight.
Yeah. And it's there is more to unlock. And the shooting mechanics are fine. I just got a question. And, one more other positive about this game. an abandoned Manhattan makes the perfect third-person shooter cover. Like, it makes so much sense to play a game like that in that type of setting, because nothing feels like shitty chest-high walls.
Just cars and police barricades.
Cars, police barricades, desks in Madison Square Garden, the concession counter in Madison Square Garden.
Post boxes,
the fucking... I mean, whatever. Like, the fans and generators on the top of a roof were obviously third-person cover shooter stuff, but, you know.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff's cool, and it adds to the experience. But again, I would say, like, I question the design decision to build a loot shooter and then go with a modern military aesthetic, because your bosses are just spongy versions of enemies that you're already fighting, which is what I don't like about Destiny's bosses, that they're just a spongier version of an enemy you've already seen instead of being, like, this really cool, interesting boss idea, right? Because when I think of bosses, I feel like they should be a different character model from the standard. It should not be a standard goon, but bigger. Like, that's just lazy. Right?
So, like, there's not much variety in terms of enemy types?
I mean, it's your dudes with melee weapons, guns. Your dude with shotgun, your dude who's gonna throw grenades, and then your spongy dude. There's a flamethrower dude this is the first 3 hours. Who knows? Maybe this changes, and there'll be zombies. Because I totally see, like, some sort of fucking zombie plague in this game or something.
Evil virus.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I am already questioning... When Wazzy, we did, like, first 2 missions, Wazzy's like, well, you played everything the Division had to offer. I'm like, man, you really should not have led with that, Adam. Mm-hmm. You really should not have been saying that, right? Because that's exactly what was wrong with... Like, that's what I was worried about when we played the Destiny beta, which was like, if the whole game is just what this beta has to offer, this game's gonna be a shit barrel. And that's not exactly out of the equation, because as I like pointing out, Bungie are the fucking kings of over-promising garbage and make bad level design. And they had a whole game of bad level design. What a shocker! Anyway. So, like, I hope the Division does throw in some new wrinkles, right? It's a pretty fucking game. I'll give it that. I will say this, though. The fact that it's a giant loot game centered around the quest of the greatest AK-47 of all time is so fucking lame, right?
So all the guns are just the same kind of model and so forth.
They're modern military guns, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's interesting about it? Like, at least with Destiny, space guns. I'm eventually gonna get a gun that shoots fucking thunder and lightning or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's some, like, weird artifact.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Like, the loot in Dark Souls, like, the sword that you make from Qualog's remains is a blade that is based on how much humanity had, and the shit's on fire! Like, that's a fun sword to carry. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
you're gonna get a gun that's on fire all the time.
Yeah, because that would look stupid in the context of the story, and which begs the question, why did you go with a modern Like, you should have made a Borderlands, not Borderlands, literally, but, like, Borderlands in terms of, like a stylized aesthetic and setting, and it should have been that, right? But instead you went with, modern and then whatever, I don't want to be that asshole who tells developers, no, don't go with your creative direction, right? Yeah. Because who's to say that people don't want a modern military loot shooter, right? I just think it looks weird and silly and ultimately takes away from a greater potential of the game, right? Because effectively, like, it's not, I don't think it's subjective to argue that the game's loot would be more interesting if you could get something a bit more bizarre and out there, you know? Because it wouldn't just be the same guns you've been getting, but now it's stronger.
But you can get a trendy bubble jacket.
But you can get a trendy bubble jacket. That's true. Trendy bubble jackets are pretty fucking rad. The Division highlights... Listen, I had my fun shitting on Destiny, but, like, I have toned it down. But all the Division did was, like, re-highlight, wow, how fucking bad they fucked up the first time by. And whatever, I still
Destiny?
Yeah, like, I still plan on playing the Taken King, but it's just like, how fucking dumb were they? Because the Division does... It's got way more going on in structure. Why the fuck wasn't that there in Destiny? The Division actually has a story that's going on. It's not good, but why the hell did you pay people who were fucking actors on The Wire to then not use them in the fucking story of your game? Like, what the fuck were you on, Bungie? Yes, I understand the rewrite process, but come on.
Yeah.
Like, you rewrite a story to still be in the game, though. You know what I mean? You have space guns and characters, but, like, then you made a bunch of classes that don't actually play all that different from each other than a wrinkle or two, right? Which might still be the issue with the Division, but I'm not too far in that game yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like... And here's the thing. You are a science fiction game. So you have no excuse for why your bosses are just the standard goons but bigger. You should have came up with cooler things. You know, at least the Division I could be like, it's not a good design, but I understand it contextually, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the context justifies this, what I find to be a flaw in the game, right?
Right.
Like, we can at least agree with we can meet the game halfway. I can't meet Destiny halfway. Destiny doesn't have a defense for that shit. So, the Division's greatest asset is that it highlights the many ways Destiny, vanilla Destiny, was hot garbage, and further proves my point that that game's hot garbage. So.
Good that they could learn from Destiny's mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that studio made World in Conflict, so I'm happy that they continue to make a game that's at least shows that they're competent, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not at a point where I'd call it a good video game. I wouldn't call it a bad video game either. Like, I'd call it, I don't know, like, it's fine. So
it's fine.
It's fine. Like, I've had my fun because I'm playing with WASD, and I'm going to use that anything is fun in co-op rule to defend any entertainment I've had so far. So, that's it as far as what I played, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Seems like you've been playing a good amount of stuff.
Yeah, I think we covered a good amount of stuff. I mean, I guess I should have mentioned the part where we stopped the Superhot spoiler, but whatever. That's what timestamps are for. Fuck, I'll actually have to put it on the YouTube thing. Check us out at endlessbacklog.com. Please send us emails at podcast@endlessbacklog.com. Mm-hmm. You can leave comments in the comment section of this lovely page on endlessbacklog.com or on the YouTube, videos, maybe, something. Yep. I don't know. Join the forums. We're going to do Game Club still, so if you want to play some Super Metroid and Pokemon Yellow with us, April, I'm going to guess, is going to end up being like a fucking WASD game, but I don't know. Not sure yet.
Send us emails.
By the time this is up, I would imagine I'll have finished something. I want to say I'll finish something. Because right now I believe I'm at 13 games beaten, or 14, I'm not sure yet. Mm-hmm. I didn't look. Super Metroid would be 13, so yeah. Yeah, I'm technically ahead of the curve, so go me. And no, I was at 13. No, I don't know, whatever, fuck it. And we're out!
Peace.